Blog Talk Radio.
Peace, peace. Welcome once again to another production of In the Black Radio. On this beautiful Tuesday evening, this is your host, the original God. We got another special one for the family this evening. Our brother, your brother, Ron Divine Prospect from Kingdom Harbinger Ministries. Brother Divine's going to come through tonight and speak on his recent trip to Baltimore, where he was doing a documentary called Ground Zero. Now, this brother, took time out from his work schedule, went down to Baltimore in order to bring us, the people's perspective from the ground. So we really do appreciate, this brother going out there in harm's way. And all the people talking about that, well, Baltimore is not the front line, this, that, and the other. I mean, you got to be out of your mind. Anytime you're going into a war situation with tanks, different equipment that they have, acoustic sound equipment, you know what I mean, AK-47s, M16, pepper spray. I mean, what the hell do you call that shit, man? So you got to give respect to the brother. Big ups to the brother, Nasi Yashavel, for going out there also, surveying the land, seeing exactly what type of tactics that they're using, on the people, down on the ground. It was interesting because he said that he observed them, kind of to calm the people down. In Ferguson, he said that they put out barbecue grills, and he said in Baltimore they pulled out ice cream to kind of calm the people down. So we see that the enemy is always, anyone try to keep the people docile and, standing up and revolting. And all you niggas out there, I'm going to address people specifically because I like to call out names. God Killer, Brother Unk from the unrest squad. I just want to address, him saying that how are we going to have an armed revolution? And, the brother, he's astute in history. He's in history, Egypt, and, he talked down on the Hebrews and all that. But it seems as if he didn't study his recent history. His recent history is Tulsa, Rosewood, Durham, North Carolina. We see, right, that when blacks followed the example of education, economics, empowering yourself, doing for self, not killing each other, staying away from violence, staying away from drugs, we see that was a problem for the American social order. We see that the move bombing in Philadelphia, I think May 13th, 1985, the year I was born, we see that there was a group of people that wanted to do for self. They weren't threatening anyone. They weren't killing people. They weren't selling no drugs. As a matter of fact, they was preaching out against that. You know what I mean? The biggest crime they did was maybe speaking on a loudspeaker. We see that they had bombs dropped on them by the Philadelphia police. We look at the Black Panthers. We see that they were thoroughly infiltrated. We see that the Black Panthers, that the SWAT team that we see now running up in brothers' drug houses and running up in brothers' houses was a result of the Black Panther Party. We see the Black Liberation Army, Sada Shakur, Sundiata Acoli. We see that they were lying on them, setting up false stories. You know what I'm saying? Saying they robbed banks and stuff, places that didn't exist. We seen when they got pulled over on the New Jersey Turnpike that the police officers opened fire on them. You know what I'm saying? All because these people were teaching or preaching. They wanted to be free. That's it. They wanted to be free from the oppression that America has inflicted on black people. But we got to understand that black unity is not allowed in this country. It's looked down on by the government. Matter of fact, I think his name was Brzezinski. Brzezinski even said it himself out of his mouth. You got to read his book, and you got to, if you don't believe me, check out go to YouTube and see what the quote that Brzezinski said. He said that the biggest threat to global white supremacy is a united Africa people, Africa, Caribbean, the United States being united. This is the biggest threat to America. Not Al Qaeda, not ISIS. You know what I mean? Not Iraq, Iran, North Korea, but black people coming together under one umbrella is the biggest threat. So when you got somebody like God Killer, right, talking shit, revolution, it really just shows the brother's character, because the last time I checked, the conscious community was supposed to be about liberating black people. It wasn't supposed to be about disseminating information. It wasn't supposed to be about mental masturbation. It wasn't supposed to be about, debating. It was supposed to be about liberation. Like I said earlier on the Hangout, if the Amara Squad ain't talking about evolution, they're not talking about Egypt, they're not talking about Hebrew Israelites, I mean, what are they really teaching? Yeah, Devon's not on yet, Brother Solar. But, what are they really teaching? They're really teaching a bunch of, like they say, tomfoolery. I mean, they come so hard at the Hebrew Israelites, but the Hebrew Israelites, they throw stuff in the community, man. I mean, you can't knock that. Look at Nasi Yashapel. Look at ISP UK. Look at AOC. They out in the community actually galvanizing, getting people off of drugs. They got GED program. They out on the street calling the white man the devil for who he is. But you got God Killer sitting at home on his computer talking shit, talking about we come from monkeys, man. I mean, I just don't get it. I don't understand it. And, we're going to have this discussion. We talked offline, me and Gozi, Solomon, Bashir. We talked offline about this, and these brothers are very adamant about using the white man science. A racist white man named Darwin. They're adamant about using his science. I mean, the thing that gets me, and I think Brother Devon is on the line. I'm going to open your mic in 1 second, good brother. The thing that gets me is that Unc goes so hard on religion. He goes so hard on saying that the Bible is the white man's Bible. But then when it goes over to science, he believes every single word that comes out of that white man's mouth. Ask where his references and sources were. Ask him. It's going to be from white people, white races. So we really can't believe what the Amara Squad is saying. You know what I mean? So we're going to deal with that. But, let me bring in the good brother, Divine Prospect. Without further ado, family, Round Zero, Baltimore, featuring Ron Divine Prospect from Kingdom Harbinger Ministry. Peace, Brother Divine. Peace.
Peace, peace, peace. How you doing, fam?
What's going on, family? Appreciate you, man.
I'm doing good. Yeah, anytime, man, anytime. Thank you once again for having me on the show. So shout out to you, oh God. Shout out to Solomon. Shout out to In the Black Radio. Shout out to the listening audience out there. Because with your support, this is becoming a groundbreaking platform in the conscious community, because it is mobilizing the people to action, and that is what we're about. So I want to thank the brothers for providing this platform, especially you, Olga. Olga, I heard that you was 29, brother. You have an old soul.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, man. I'm 29, man. Yep.
Yeah, you see? And the youth are the tools to get things done. And this is not a knock to those who are much older than us, but their objective is to pass us the torch and be able to guide us as we're going in the front lines of war to get things done. The problem is that a lot of the elders do not have enough respect for the youth to trust us with the tools necessary to get the job done. And this is our objective. You know what I'm saying, is to show them that we are there on the front lines and all we need is your guidance and your tools and we can get the job done. You know what I'm saying? Because it has to be built from us and our generation afterwards, or if not, there's no revolution, because we don't have a lot of time left. You know what I'm saying? White supremacy is set up in such a way that they work on a particular timeline. And if we're not rising up in consciousness to create a system that's going to counter that, then there's no way in the world that we're going to succeed. So like you said earlier, King, that we have to mobilize all melanated people, starting with the homeland of Africa and under one banner. This is why, even though I have a Hebrew Israelite ideology, I'm not limited to that, but I fall under the RBG banner and I band together with my other brothers, leave my numerated differences aside and work strictly on the denominator that connects us all, which is knowing that because we have lost our identity and we're trying to reclaim that back, once we know who we are, we have an obligation to the ancestors that have come before us to do something about this system called white supremacy that's keeping us all oppressed each and every day in every area and facet of our lives. Because if we do not create a society for our upcoming generation sans white supremacy, we are doomed as a people. So I just wanted to intro with that, if you don't mind, King.
Oh, yeah, yes, sir, man. Like I said, however you want to flow the conversation, that's how we can do it. But definitely, brother, it's your platform. Can you hear me, brother?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, now I want to what did you want to start with, brother? Because I have a question. I want to kind of get things kicked off. I gotta bring this up early because I'm not sure if you're aware, but we had a program called Conscious Community or Con Us Community. Where basically, we were touching on. Well, I had a problem basically with Sarnetta and Polite. Pretty much, without saying your name or Nasi Yashabel's name, they pretty much kind of called you guys out, for going down to Baltimore and saying that, that is not the front lines, and Brother Unc called in, acting as their guard dog, defending them. You know what I mean? So how do you feel about, going down to Baltimore? How do you feel about what they said about you? Saying that you wasn't really doing no work. They said that you told the people to stop throwing the rocks and, different things like that. So, yeah. So what's your perspective on that, good brother?
All right. Now, it's interesting that you said that because I listened to the show the day after it aired. I didn't even know it was airing, because if I knew it was airing, I would have called in. But I wasn't aware of it. So I had the opportunity to listen to that show the day after. I also listened to the show with Polite and Sarnetta that they did with Brother Rich on Underground Railroad, Black Magic, that platform there. And I was assessing a couple of things. Now, I got to speak to Sarnetta behind the scenes in regards to this particular situation, and he expressed that he was venting at the moment, but me and him made amends behind closed doors. But that does not alleviate what's the subject matter on the table. And the subject matter on the table is, are we going on the front lines? Now, a leader does not have to go on the front lines if he has a big enough organization to send representatives there. Because before you can fight any battle, you need to get intel. If you don't have proper intel, you're not going to be able to understand how your enemy is orchestrating his attack against you. So in regards to Divine Prospect, I never made a name for myself disrespecting anybody. And Ankh in particular, because I heard the show, and Ankh was getting at me more so than anybody else, and I've never disrespected him because I always see Ankh as an elder regardless of his own personal worldview, whether I agree with it or not. But every chance that he gets, I hear my name coming up and him taking shots at me. You know what I'm saying? So my success is not predicated on calling anybody out. See, this is why when people call my name out, I keep doing what I'm doing, because I'm here to serve the people. I'm not here to create controversy. I'm not here to argue, bicker, and debate all day. That's not what I'm here for. There's a war that we have to fight, and if we don't concentrate our resources towards that battle, then we will never win. We will always be subjugated in a caste system that's been designed to keep us oppressed. Now, to go and answer your question, because I listened to the show, people are making comments without being there on the front line. The objective of me going out there was twofold. The first thing was to get intel at the grassroots level from the people, not the media, to see exactly what's going on, because I needed to ascertain what's going on and have an independent medium going out there, right, for the conscious community to report back what's actually transpiring. Because all the other information that we're getting there are either from locals who are not leaders in the conscious community or from the mass media. So I decided to go out there on behalf of my organization as well as Black News 404. See, if anybody's seen my trailer for the documentary, it's a Black News 404 production. I had a production team assist me going out there to get this intel to create this documentary, and also the second part is showing me employing tactics on how we can organize and mobilize against this issue that we're experiencing, not just in Baltimore, but all over. So I had twofold. I went out there to be media and the press to get intel for the Black conscious community, and number two, to implement programs, okay, across the city, abroad, so that way we can do something about not just that situation, but use Baltimore as a catalyst, right, as a testing ground, as a pilot program to show how we can fight against white supremacy tactfully and intellectually on a level where they will not expect it. But first, we need proper intel at the grassroots level. Now, the scene that they're talking about, two scenes that for some reason is causing controversy, right? First scene is there's a scene where I'm talking to a brother who's out there who has an RBG flag. The brother has an ankh around his neck, and the brother was out there in the middle of all the people. He wasn't the only person there. There was several other youth that was out there that was conscious, rocking RBG. They were conscious. And what they were doing was they were antagonizing the police, but doing so respectfully. So they was getting up on the police, talking to them like, yo, especially the black officers, saying, do you know what white supremacy is? Do you understand that you are part of the problem? So they're getting up on them, talking to them, getting it in. I'm out there, you know, because the first night that I went there, I left out in the evening around 9:30. I was walking around just to assess the situation. I saw trucks out there, Humvees out there. They had military personnel out there, and I was trying to figure out, you know, what's going on. Are we disobeying the Posse Comitatus Act? Are you having military that's federal coming out here policing our state? And if so, then that means that's an act or a sign of war, and we as a melanated people need to arm ourselves. Okay, weaponry-wise, arm ourselves intellectually-wise, arm ourselves spiritually to fight this battle, because that's pretty much what you're showcasing. If you have military in our streets, that's what you're demonstrating to the people. And when you study the Posse Comitatus Act, you understand why this is an issue. You know what I'm saying? Even though I don't agree with the founders of this country, one thing that they did understand was tyranny. And they understood that when you have police, military policing your community, that's an act of war. So when people said we're not on the front lines, right, they're not really delving into history. So the first night we went out there, and the objective of going out there is because I got a call from a local brother that was there, and that's why I went out there. I went out there because I got calls from brothers and sisters that were living in Baltimore and said, Devon, we try to reach out to a couple other people in the community. They're not coming out here. Can you come out here and help to assess what's going on and help us to know what to do? So I said, all right, cool. You know, I went on Facebook. I made a quick video letting, you know, the people know that I would be going out there. And guess what? Oh, God, the people sent me financial support. They paid for my entire trip, there and back. The people paid for it. You see? So when you lose faith in the people are willing to support somebody going out there to get proper intel and to also implement plans of action, so that way we can aggregate our resources and do something about this problem. You see? So when I said that, the people, they sent their donations in. I was grateful for it. I said thank you to everybody for sending the donations. And the first thing I did once I got those donations, I went to the store, and it was late at night, but I went to the store and I got some supplies. The supplies that I got was for the people on the front line. I got food for them. I got first aid kits for them. I got compasses. I got pocket knives. I got different items so the people can be prepared while they're on the front lines. Now, I wasn't advocating that nobody go out there and go ham on the police without any organized front, because those are not soldiers out there. Those young kids, they're not soldiers out there. They're not military-minded. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm not going to go out there and have them act recklessly, but just in the event that if something pops off, y'all need to be prepared. We had ponchos for the people to sleep in case it was raining. We had flashlights. I got all these supplies for the people. And I brought a whole host of these supplies with me to the people. So when I drove up there 11 hours, I didn't fly. I drove up there 11 hours from Atlanta. I took time off from my busy schedule, from what I do to economically make myself proficient and sufficient. I took time off from that. I canceled projects, and I went up there to go handle work as the people asked for me to come, and I went. So the first night that I went there, after 9:30, we went out because I got a call from somebody locally saying that the police were acting unruly out there, and they wanted media that they can trust to capture it. So the first night that I went out there, everything was kind of like, it was like a ghost town. Like, it was like no people in the street, and the people that was in the street was like running and trying to get to cover and all of that. And then there's helicopters in the sky, flashing searchlights down on the people. I was like, yo, this is like a scene out of a movie. Like, we're in a third world country. You know what I'm saying? You see these Humvees going down the street, antagonizing the people who was driving and the people that was in the streets. It was crazy. I was like, wow. So we made our way to where City Hall is at. So where I was stationed at, because I was speaking to another brother there, and he told me exactly where to go get a hotel. He said, Devon, this is the best place to get a hotel, because I said, I want to be close to City Hall and where Ground Zero is at, which is Penn and North, right? So he helped me, get told me what area to go to, and I went there, so that way I was in walking distance of City Hall, and I could also take the metro or commute up to Penn and North, right? Penn and West North. So the first time we went there, I wanted to go and assess this police terrorism that was occurring, right? So as we was walking there, they had some kind of armored truck that set up a perimeter around City Hall. So as we was proceeding there was a group that was in front of us, and this group was mostly white, right? It had like a black brother and a sister with them, but it was like 6 or 7 other white people. They looked in their 20s, and this group was walking towards City Hall. So me and an associate of mine was also, following behind them, and we stopped because there was two sisters there, right? Black sisters there. One had a mic, one had a camera, and he was asking me questions about what was transpiring. So I paused for a second, and then that group continued to go ahead. We wasn't with them, but they just continued to go ahead. And after I spoke to the sisters that was there, we proceeded to walk towards the perimeter. And as soon as we took maybe about 10 feet, we seen a car pull up. We see military personnel come out with guns drawn and everything on that group that was in front of us. And these were white individuals with the 2 black individuals that was in front of us, grabbed them up, handcuffed them, asked some of them, where's your paperwork, what you doing here, and just grabbed them and dumped them right into the car. So we stopped for a second, and I was like, okay, I see they have a perimeter set up, and we had not yet crossed the perimeter. So what I was doing was I was filming everything that was transpiring there. I was filming it because I wanted to get all of this on paper for the conscious community to see exactly what's transpiring. So I captured that moment there, right? So after I got that footage, we decided, yo, you know what? They don't care who you are. They ready to grab you up. So what we said was that we saw that the perimeter was too staunch for us to get in, so we just left that first night. Second night, which was a Saturday, because we got there Friday. Second night was a Saturday. Saturday is when the fight transpired, right? Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. So we went to City Hall like during the afternoon, late afternoon, early evening time. And when I went to City Hall, there was people that were still out there. I was able to interview various people, a brother from the Nation of Islam, a politician that was out there, a brother from the Black Panther Party, a brother from the RBG community, a couple of Hebrew Israelite brothers that was out there, a couple of brothers from the Kemetic community that was out there as well, individuals that knew Freddie Gray personally. So we were just grabbing everybody that was there and getting information in regards to what was transpiring, and then at the same time letting them know what our objective is going out there and making them privy of the conscious community, because a lot of them was not aware that there's a community out there that can better equip them to fight this war. They wasn't even aware of that. So when I went out there to make them aware of all of this information, they say, wow, that's great. And one of the conversations I had with a brother there, he was telling me that it was closing down all the PALs. They were closing out all the rec centers. They were closing out anything, after-school programs, anything that would keep the youth occupied, because they wanted an initiative to pass certain bills, and the only way they could do it is to cut funding to these organizations. So what these organizations had to do was every time they petitioned to get a grant, they were denied, right? So they had to come out their own pockets from working and put it into keeping some of these rec centers alive. So while I was conversating with them, I was telling them how they can generate income independent of relying on a grant, so that way they can maintain their rec centers and they can open up their own indigenous community centers that is independently owned, operated, that can be self-sufficient, and that can be separate from whatever the state is trying to tell you what to do and how to regulate it. They had no clue about that. So we told them how to do that. We told them how to create an economical plan to support these community centers, these rec centers, so the youth have an outlet. And we also gave them curriculums on how to teach an individual social, economics, politics, health, right? Because they didn't have any of that in those rec centers. They just had like pool tables and basketball courts. So all they was doing was give the youth an outlet to be active, but didn't give them any consciousness. So we was giving them curriculums on how they can implement this. And when I go back on my second trip, we're going to do a follow-up, which is going to be a second part of the documentary to get all of that footage so we can show you how effective implementing these plans are and how it's affecting everything. There was a teacher out there as well. And the teacher was also telling us that, you know, their curriculums are not designed for black people. There's no curriculums designed for black people. And any independent black charter schools were being systematically shut down. So everything was being funneled to these public schools only. And the public schools only teach a child, especially if you're black, that you started off as a slave. See, that's a problem. So when we were speaking with the teachers, we was letting them individuals that's in the conscious community that have these programs that can help you to create curriculums. We even was talking to her how to implement rudimentary programs within her classes because she had the leniency to do so. She just didn't have the curriculum to do so. So we got them in touch with several people in the conscious community so that they can contact and watch the material and implement it within the schools. So after everything was counted down, was getting late, getting closer to curfew, we decided to make an impromptu trip up on Ground Zero, which was Penn and North, right? So as we was driving up there, we seen all these abandoned houses and people hanging out in the street and everything like that. And, you know, the one thing about Baltimore, because I've been to Baltimore in the past, is that Baltimore has the worst real estate in our community. When I say worst real estate, there's houses that are still burnt down there from the 60s riots in Baltimore that has yet to be fixed. And individuals there were showing us exactly where these communities were that were burnt down. And a lot of the homes were foreclosed. And that was something else that we taught them how to reclaim these foreclosed homes to buy back their community and use it as a garrison or use it as a fort so they can run operations from. We was teaching them how to create these think tanks. So when we went to Ground Zero, this is when people started to talk about the clips that I made in regards to the conscious community. So when I was out there, I was speaking to a few brothers and sisters that was out there that was, you know, they had the red, black, and green, that had the Ankh chains on, that was like fully conscious and aware what was going on, that was antagonizing the police, that was trying to tell the individuals that was out there, you guys are not operating with a higher frequency of consciousness. This is not how you do it. You got to look at what was implemented from our elders and our ancestors. So they would just put it in work, and all of them was under 30 years old. So I went up to one of the individuals, and I was speaking to him, and I was interviewing. It was a 15-minute conversation I had with him, and I had to grab a quick clip of it and post it. So when people make a comment on a 40-second clip, when I had a 15-minute long conversation, they're taking things out of context. So when I was speaking to the brother, he said, yo, you're part of the conscious community? He said, you're a leader in the conscious community? He didn't even know who I was. And I started mentioning some people in the conscious community to him. He said, oh, I don't know that person. Yeah, I know that person. He was like, yo, where they at? Why they not here? Why did you have to come by yourself? This is what he's saying to me. So then that's when I asked him, I said, well, tell me, how does that make you feel when you don't see a lot of the leaders in the conscious and RBG community out there? How does that make you feel? You know, because you don't see them out there. He was like, listen, man, practice what you preach. Practice what you preach. If you said this is the life you're about, you need to be out here. That's exactly what he said. But again, this was a 15-minute conversation that I took a 40-second clip to add to a trailer, and people are commenting on a small trailer and don't even know the entire context of the conversation that I had with his brother. And I didn't call nobody's name out, because I'm not disrespectful like that. I'd rather say it to a person's face. I'm not going to say nothing behind your back. If I have a problem with somebody, I'm going to say it to their face. Okay? Because divine prospect has not always been conscious. I'm from the Bronx, Soundview area of New York City. So when I was hanging on the streets, I always addressed people to their face. I never gossip or got hearsay. I said, nah, take me to the source. That's why I don't speak about nobody unless they're present. I'd rather say it to their face. So when people talk about me, I just think that that's not fair, because you need to give me an opportunity to speak back, because maybe I can enlighten you on something that you're overlooking. So after that transpired, right, the second controversial part is when I was telling people to chill. Now, when I was out there in the corner, because if you go to Penn and North, there's across the street is where the CVS is at. I was standing on the side where the metro station was at. Across the street is where the CVS was at that was burnt out. And at first, When I first got there was some tension, but everything was calm and everything was peaceful, right? Nobody was acting crazy. There were children that were out there. There were women who had children out there. A lot of these women were like in their mid-20s. Some of them were like they was in their late teens that had children out there with them. Wow. Right there, sitting at the metro stop. Some of them was across the street. Some was sitting on the stoop. There was children out there, kids. I'm talking about babies and strollers as well. So when a person speaks about a situation and they're not there, they don't have a clue as to what I was doing and what was transpiring in real time in the moment. You feel what I'm saying, OG? So after I was assessing what was going on, I took a lot of footage. And what I noticed is that the media was inciting the people to act on the police. The media. I'm talking about CNN, I'm talking about Fox, I'm talking about CBS, I'm talking about all these stations. This is what they would do, Ogon, right? A person would be there just sitting there minding their business, talking to their friends, say, yo, you know what, we need to do something about this. They would come right over there and say, hey, you don't see the police over there? How you just going to let the police stand there and not do nothing? Aren't you mad? Right. Aren't you angry? Don't y'all want to do something to the cops right now? I think y'all should do it right now. Matter of fact, tell me how you feel that you're not doing anything right now and you're looking pretty helpless just standing right there. And then they turn the camera on. And the person starts to speak. I recorded all of this, man. I was like, wow. And they don't have any regard to the children that were standing there. They didn't care because that's not their community. Right. So when I seen the media doing this, I said, okay, I see one element of what's transpiring. You see? That's what's going on because there were several individuals from gang communities out there. And I have associates that's heavy in gangs. And I speak to them all the time to raise their frequency of consciousness, right? And they put me on to what's going on in the streets. So I know exactly the different factions that was out there on that evening, and they were policing everything. They said, listen, if we're going to bang on them, we have to be organized because they got tanks. This is the gang members saying this. Gang members are saying this. And then you have the media saying, oh, do you guys have guns on you right now? Do you have anything on you right now? Like blowing up our spot, dry snitching. This is what the media was doing. They was inciting us to act, and then they were directing it in a way so that we're not organized. And they were doing it systematically. They would go to different pockets and say, well, why don't you ask them what they're going to do? And then they would do this systematically and just rev everybody up to just act out. So there was one individual that was there, and if you've seen, I'm sure you saw my video that I have up there, Mayhem in Baltimore. He was intoxicated, he was drunk, and he was also on a narcotic, right? And the media was saying to him, why don't you go on the street and make your point? Matter of fact, why don't you go over to the cops right there? They're just standing right there. So they were going to the individuals that was intoxicated and that was high and telling them, why don't you go towards the cops and do something? The media was saying this.
Hey, see what I mean? Like, it was some coon from the Rock squad. I forget. I think it was Kunfu or Kufu. He was talking about, let the media get the coverage. We don't need to be out there. But when the media, you let the white man media dictate to you, you see that they trying to serve us up for the slaughter, man. They're giving us false information. That's why we need brothers like you and Nazi on the ground, brother, but I don't want to stop your flow. You continue on, brother. Had to insert
No problem. So I got all of this on camera. You see? All of this on camera. So people can see what exactly is going on. So when you trust the white media doesn't care nothing about RBG. The white media doesn't care nothing about us mobilizing and organizing before we make an attack. The white media don't care about the babies that's out there in the street. The white media don't care about that. They don't care about that. So listen to this. The people are normally out there till about 12 at night before they take the kids in because it's hot, and they go out in the street because there's nothing else for them to do, and they have the children out there. So when the media is telling this individual, why don't he go on the street, and they're picking him to speak to and to interview this individual because they know he's not coherent. They know he's going to say something reckless. They know they can provoke him to go and attack the police so they can get the coverage. I even heard one person else say, listen, something needs to happen. If not, I'm not going to get this raised. You see, when you're not there on the front line, you have no clue what's going on. So their initiative was to get us to act unruly so they can get the footage and get paid. You see? I got that on tape. So when this individual was sparked up to go in the middle of the street with a shirt that said, F the police, standing in the middle of the street, telling traffic to go around him, saying, I'm mad as hell, acting crazy. The media's like, oh, go, go, go. They're telling him to go, like, towards the cops. So he's intoxicated, and he's on a narcotic because his eyes are blinking fast and his eyes are dilating, and then his speech is slurring and incoherent, and he's stumbling, and he starts having these moments of just crying. Yo, I'm saying they used him to act up so they can get the footage. When he went in the street, the cars was going around him. They was like, go, 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 like towards where the police was at. Babies was still out there in the street. This was a little after 10 o'clock. There was children that was out there. Now, I got a press badge for my organization, right? A press badge. So this way I could record the information and also see what type of immunity the media had, because the media had a degree of immunity that the regular people did not have. So that would give me the leverage in case I needed to protect somebody, because I could say, oh, they with me, leave them alone, and they would back up off of them. So I had to think tactfully on how to deal with the situation, being right on the forefront. I brought all my supplies with me. I gave the people the things that they need because I see that they were out there. I made sure they have food. They made sure they have water. I made sure they have first aid supplies. I gave the people what they needed. Me, Devon, I'm giving the people what they needed out there. At the same time, having higher frequency conversations with these individuals to try to assess what's going on. But at the same time, I was in awe because I was like, wow. So when the individual in the street, he walked towards the cops pulled out, pepper spray to spray him. Right before that happened, a lady from the media, she came to me and she said, hey, how do you feel about breaking the curfew? And put the camera on me. And I said, breaking the curfew? I said, you don't see my press badge? And I said, even if I was breaking the curfew, there's nothing wrong with that because I'm in my legal jurisdiction to do so. And she said, oh, you know what? Forget it. She said, cut that. They saw that when I had a press badge and I was speaking consciously, they was running away from me. I got all that on camera. They was running away from me. They didn't want to talk to me because they understood that I would say something that would get to the masses of the media, right, and wake them up. They were trying to avoid that because you saw what happened to Geraldo Rivera when he went out there and that brother was speaking to him. They didn't want to capture that. They were being very tactful and careful this time because what they start to do is that they start to assess what's going on and say, okay, let's minimize this, let's maximize that. So as soon as that brother was going in the street, walking towards the cops, I was distracted purposely, and I found out later that they purposely distracted me because they didn't want me to get the footage. So when the cops maced him or pepper sprayed him, I heard people saying something. So I turned my camera on, and I was rushing towards them to go see what was going on, and then the cop grabbed them, and they had slammed the brother to the ground. And my camera was loading up, and by the time my camera got a picture on, he was already on the ground. And I was trying to film this. I said, Joe, what the hell are y'all doing? Like, what's going on? So I'm trying to film what's going on so I can get all that information because I also have an app that I'm going to speak about as soon as I finish this to show you the things and initiatives that I'm taking to make a difference in our community. So while I'm filming this, there's still children that's across the street by the Penn and North Metro station. There was children out there. So here is an individual that got pulled from his head and slammed down to the ground after he was being pepper sprayed. The cops are jumping all on the people. Was like, nah, we're not going to let you just gang up on him like that. So the people started going towards him with no weapons or anything, but they was going towards him, telling people, the cops like, yo, you need to chill. And here's the media right behind them saying, yo, pick up something, throw something, telling the kids that are high, that are drinking, to throw something over there at the cops while there's babies out there, man. While there's underage teenagers out there. I'm talking about 11, 12, 13-year-olds, telling them to throw rocks and bottles at the cops while there's babies out there. The media don't care nothing about your family, man. Mm-hmm. They don't care nothing about your family. So when I saw this happening, I was telling people, yo, chill. I said, yo, let me get this footage, man. Let me get this footage because the footage was going to assist with the app that I'm about to release. And I'm going to speak on that in a moment. But when they were throwing bottles, now the cops are trying to pepper spray us. Now the cops are bringing out guns that has rubber bullets, about to shoot them our way. And I'm the only person telling the people to, yo, chill, man, chill. Like, relax, yo, chill.
Right.
So after I said that a couple of times, they calmed down a while, and the media was a little upset. So they ran across the street to film the individual that was on the ground. And if you watch CNN at night, CNN said this. They said, the cops had grabbed and put somebody to the ground, and we believe that this was the individual that was throwing rocks and glass bottles at the cops. So that's why the cops had to take him down. This is what the media was saying. But I got all that on tape. See? So when I was telling people to chill, let me get this footage, I was recording what was transpiring, and because I had my press badge on, I was trying to get up front, close and personal recordation of what was going on and get a degree of immunity whereby which I wouldn't be touched while I'm doing it. See, I had to be tactful on this enemy, on this beast, so I can get the necessary footage, not only to promote this act that's going to help us unify, but also so we can get it from a conscious perspective to see exactly what's transpiring. So when we talk about Black conscious media being on the front line, I was actually representing Black News 404, which is a affiliate of Black News 102, or what some people will call Sinetta TV. So I'm a sub-affiliate. When I go out there on behalf of Black News 404 to record information, also I'm affiliated with Black News 102. So I was the media at the same time I was an activist. I was doing two things at the same time while I was out there in Baltimore. I don't know what the people wanted from Divine, but most of the people that follow behind me and support me, they say you did a great job, Divine, right? Because there's so much footage that I have, oh God, that when I cut this documentary up and I go back the second time, the people who are the naysayers are going to sit back and say, you know what, we see exactly what's going on. All these Asian provocateurs that are there trying to incite a riot because they knew that the people that was out there was not organized. And we had RBG members, and we had Black Panther Party members, and we had more Hebrew Israelites that was on that corner. We had Kemetic brothers. We had an organized front, united front that was organized on the front lines, and the media would not be able to have any say-so on disorganizing us, disunifying us, talking to us all slick and getting us all riled up because we would already be built for that. They knew exactly who they can incite to do something stupid. They knew it. They understood this. This is why all the individuals that had the RBG flag on, they didn't go interview them at all. All the brothers that had the sisters that had the ankhs on, they didn't interview them at all. All the ones that had natural hair, right, and look conscious, they didn't interview them at all. Anybody who was speaking eloquently, or tactfully, they didn't interview them at all. And they were the ones behind the scenes trying to organize the people, saying, listen, don't do that, do this. But the media, everybody wanted to be on the camera, and they used that because our people wanted to be on camera more so than listen to the ones that were there trying to speak some sense into them. They wanted to get on camera, and they would not let them get on camera unless they act and buck wild. That is how they operate out there. So if we are...
Yes, sir. That's real talk, Brother Divine. I just want to say, I definitely appreciate you going out there, getting that footage and getting us that perspective that we need, because, like you said, you can't trust the media. You can't trust the white man's media. And as far as Polite, right, I got to address this point because he had a lot to say. And really, the show was really directed at Polite because he would go to a debate, 15 dudes, armed security, goes to Egypt in the middle of the Arab Spring, in the middle of an Egyptian revolution. But when it comes time to go on the front line and galvanize the people, because you're supposed to be a leader, he's nowhere to be found. So I was just asking the question. You don't have to really touch on this if you don't want to, but I'm just putting it out there. Is it just about money in this community, man? I mean, people are just about money, or are they about liberation? Now, I got a lot of respect for the Hebrew Israelites, especially you and Brother Nazi, because y'all actually doing the damn thing. Y'all putting yourself in harm's way. You're not out on the street, shucking and jiving on 125th Street and, interviewing the same people over and over. That's fine. But actually getting out on the front line, I just want to say, brother, from me to you, man, I respect it and I appreciate it. And keep doing your thing, good brother. You know what I'm saying? No doubt, no doubt. I think the question that you was asking, oh God, was, is the conscious community designed to profit off of the people, or is it really designed about Black revolution? I think that is an excellent question. And again, like I said, I'm not going to speak any names because I want to address people while they're here with me, right? But I'm going to speak on the subject matter from my experience. And this is speaking from Divine Prospect. When I became a speaker in the conscious community, I understood that people were going there paying money to listen to knowledge and leave out still facing their social issues, right? So
I said to myself, because I know I was a victim of that, you know what I'm saying? And this is not a victim in the sense where, they're taking advantage of me, but I'm going to listen to somebody speak, paying $20, $30, $40 to listen to somebody speak. And even Dr. Sebi had a big conference out here in Atlanta at the World Congress Center, if I'm not mistaken, where the ticket price was pretty high. And that's because Sebi is well known, but the ticket price is real high. But the point I was trying to make is that me paying for entry into a lecture to sit and listen to somebody speak and get great information, but then leave out and have the same social ills, I think that is a problem. That's why I respect organizations that create programs to assist the people that's coming in there to actually take in the information. Because if you don't fix the social ills of the people, and if people are economically unsound, they have health issues, they have all these problems of about to face foreclosures, all these problems after leaving out a lecture. And then they come back to your lecture, leave out here, they come back. This is how we have a lot of people that stay in the conscious community and eventually they just leave out. Because a lot of times in the conscious community, they have a gripe with the Christian community. Just like, I have a gripe with the Christian community too, because I don't support Christianity. But the issue is that at least they have implemented programs to assist their congregation, right? So the model that they have, us in the conscious community being on a higher frequency of thinking, we should have better programs for our community than they do. They should not be able to outshine us. So the point I'm saying is that if an individual is teaching and you're teaching there to give the people good information and you're doing that to support your family, that's fine. Divine Prospect, I have other streams of revenue, so I don't have to make money from a lecture. I make my money from the business that I have. I make my money from the job that I work. I make my money from the services that my organization offers. I have additional streams of revenue, so I could do lectures for free, which I have done, and not get paid and not have to worry about and not be compromised in what I say to the people, because I'm not living off of them. I'm not living off of them. Now, if I live off of them, I have to continue to ensure that I have a recurring customer, right? Now, this is to say this. I've noticed that in the conscious community, and again, I'm not taking shots at nobody. You already did your thing, oh God, so Divine don't need to do that. But what I would say is that I have a high respect for a lot of the leaders in the conscious community. I just want to put that out there because they help me to be awakened, right? They help me to be involved with the RBG community. They help me to get a level of consciousness that I didn't have previously, right? I also appreciate the different individuals that's in the Hebrew Israelite community because they did the same thing with me as well. But the next step is this. Once I have all of this information and I'm conscious, how am I toppling white supremacy? Now, I'm going to give you a great example, right? Because I was speaking on the phone with a sister of mine. I was speaking on the phone with her earlier today, and this is something that I say all the time. And what we fail to realize is that we are no longer creating independent ecosystems for us to thrive and be prepared to fight a battle. We're not doing that. Where are they at? They don't exist. And the problem sometimes is that we tend to become an organ in a body and become dysfunctional, and we turn into what's called an autoimmune disease. When you have an autoimmune disease, you have white blood cells that do not understand the proteins on the surface of a membrane of a cell to know whether or not it's friend or foe. So what happens is the autoimmune disease starts to attack the body thinking it's an enemy, not realizing that it's still a part of the body's ecosystem. Well, what are you saying, Divine? What I'm saying is that if we create a system that has to be dependent on white supremacy to thrive, we are autoimmune disease in a body, and once we take out the body, we're dead too. So where are these individual pockets of resistance, of communities that we are thriving off the grid, creating our own currency, creating our own agricultural system, creating our own housing, so that when ish pops off, we are fully prepared. How many of us know how to do guerrilla warfare if need be? How many women know how to create shelters for the children if they need to bring them there while the men are fighting at war? How many people are trying to be independent of the media that we have today so we can get back in alignment spiritually with our Creator or our ancient ancestors through the means of meditation and prayer? How many of us are self-sufficient and independent of this beast system that we have these pockets of resistance, so when ish pops off, we have a network that we can run online to and stay in touch so that way we can resist the system. Because this way we have our own independent body. We do not become an autoimmune disease and a dysfunctional body, and we can be self-sufficient and independent and thrive as much as we possibly can and create these pockets all over the globe, more centrally in Africa, so that way we can raise the degree of consciousness and melanated people so we can rise up and topple the system. That is the next step. Once we're conscious, where is it at? This is what I'm attempting to do out here in Atlanta. This is what I'm attempting to do out there in South Carolina. This is what I'm attempting to do out there in Virginia. We are setting up these hubs to create these independent systems so we can thrive independently and be prepared when it pops off in case we have to survive off the grid or fight this beast. This is the next step. So when people talk about, oh, Devon, you got a Hebrew Israelite ideology, okay, that's at the core, but I'm not sitting here waiting for nobody to come and redeem me. We're making things work. We're making things act. See, that's the power behind an indigenous cultural system. People got things twisted to think I'm sitting here waiting on somebody to do something. Devon's put it in work because I understand the RBG element that's been implemented by the UNIA, and we had two Hebrew Israelites supporting the UNIA, which is Josiah Ford and Whitworth Matthews, what a lot of people probably don't know because they think all Hebrew Israelites are against Africa and against RBG, but that goes to show that they're not doing their history far enough, back enough to see who's helped support that movement. We were on the front lines helping to support that movement. This is when I'm training up Hebrew Israelites today to become these RBG elements that are integrated into the system so when things rise up, we can respond. This is what our cultural identity aspires to do, to not allow injustice to prevail, for us to do something about it. So we're very active, and I can speak for myself. I'm very active in creating these communities that are self-sufficient, independent off of the system, so that way we can have our own and not be in a dysfunctional body that's about to topple over itself. So that's the next step, oh God. Where are these communities at? Are we creating them? And if we are, let the people know how to do it. Coming to lectures is fine. Coming to conference events, that's fine. But if they're coming there without having knowledge of creating an independent community, then that's a disservice that we're doing to them. So this is just a cry, not a reprimand, but a cry to the leaders in the conscious community, like, let us equip our people to know how to thrive and survive off the grid and our own collective systems, so that way when things pop off, we will be fully prepared. And we don't have to go to Big Brother begging and pleading for assistance. Because you cannot go to your oppressor and ask them to give you the funds so that you can fight a battle. It doesn't work that way. So we need to be able to have these self-sufficient ecosystems ourselves so we can act when the time comes. So I'm sorry for taking up some time, Olga. I'm going to let you speak, but I just wanted to get that out there on record so that the people know where I stand and those who affiliate me where we stand.
Yeah, peace, fam. Can you hear me? This is Brother Solomon.
Peace, Solomon. I can hear you, King.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. There's no way that you could rely on your oppressor to provide you with assistance militarily, or really in any other, in any other category, to add to that. You know what I'm saying? I think that is crucial that at this particular time, when you have this common trend developing and being broadcast to the world, when you have this situation of us being brutalized by the police, which actually is an historical trend. But now, since social media has reached the height that it has, and we have access to camera phones, it's just being broadcast, really at an all-time high. Whereas though we actually seeing cops shooting people in the back while they're running. Cops, shooting, on people saying, acting like they're mistaking it for their tasers. You had these occasions being recorded now, and that only leads one to think that, well, if they doing such, barbaristic acts in 2015, imagine what they was doing in 1915. You know what I'm saying? Imagine what they was doing, where there was no camera there. There was no camera to record it. You know what I'm saying? So you're dealing with a level of oppression that has not yet to really be fully documented and fully talked about when you come and look at what we currently today call the African American, and a lot of people say, what Tupac say, and they wonder why we crazy. I bring my mother for bringing my mother into a crack baby. Say something like that, you know what I'm saying? We ain't meant to survive because it's a setup. You know what I mean? That's the secret. You know what I mean? The secret is that America really has no use for us now. America has used us, you know, to build this country, to establish this great empire, you know, as we see today. You know what I mean? And now that it's so attractive to other people who are more than willing to come over here and work these menial jobs, you know, for the quote-unquote American dream, they really have no use for the African American no more. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, what do we do with them? What do we do with them? Well, massive incarceration. You know, the guy from the Bastards of the Party, the white cop, he was saying is like, you know, he said the industrialization of the prisons is not necessarily, you know, for punishment. It's really like to store a group of people that's no longer needed in society. Mm-hmm. That's why you got HBO. You know, you talk to the brothers that's locked down. I'm pretty sure you probably put money on somebody's books, Divine Prospect. You know what I'm saying? you know, they want a little extra money to get their TV and the HBO.
Yeah.
They in jail. Like, you know what I mean? You can't pay for HBO. I ain't even got HBO. They locked up, they got HBO.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you know, it's really a storehouse to house people, or really like, you know, the soldier class of people mainly, because society no longer needs them.
And if you don't mind, if I can interject real quick, Solomon, because, you know, this is why I love y'all radio show, because you guys keep it real and you guys just bring out transparently the truth. And that resonates me so heavy. And not only are we unneeded, right, as far as labor is concerned, because now there's a mass of Mexicans that are being employed to do manual labor. They've taught us to be dissatisfied and dysfunctional, so that way we don't go out there to work to justify them using another ethnic group of people to do the labor that we once did. And the problem is that a lot of our elders are not passing down the trades to the youth to do carpentry, to do agriculture, to do different things that made us successful during the Reconstruction period, when we had independent colonies that was established, right? But now, not only are they marketing off of us and making money by keeping the prisons, the industrial prison complex, at over a 95% capacity, with us being the number one ethnicity that's locked up in there. But now they said the next thing we could do with black people is use them to market our goods. See, this is what they're doing now. Black people are marketable. They're fashionable. They're using us to create fads. They're using us to spearhead reality shows. They're using us to create controversy. They're using us for sports. They're using us to market off of us, and if they cannot make money off of us, the next best thing is you being dead or locked up in prison somewhere. So anything that we try to do or create that it has a higher frequency of consciousness that's going to elevate the people, okay, if we do not find some way to penetrate society and withdraw our people out of it, to create a system that's self-sufficient, so we're not under their jurisdiction of law, okay? So we're not being subjected to this media system that they're using us on music and on movies, on TV to make marketing products off of us. This entire system will be bankrupt because we will show we have no need for them, because now we have been trained to be self-sufficient. And one thing that I learned from a brother that was out there in Baltimore, and I'm going to give you guys back the mic. I just wanted to interject. I apologize, King. I just wanted to get this out there. One thing that a brother was speaking to me about, he was saying that the veterans, right, we're talking about the black veterans, are not being utilized by the community no more. They're being cast away. And he said the problem with that is that these veterans that fought in these wars have so many skills that they can bring to the community. Let me tell you, I have a small program that I'm trying to get off the ground. What we're doing is we're going to all of these veterans, whether they're young or old, who are coming back from war, and what we're doing is we're extracting all of the skills that they learned there to implement in our community so we could be self-sufficient. Now, the problem is that they're getting rid of all of these veterans that have these skills, because we no longer have any of their ancestors who came from the Reconstruction period, right? And we know that the labor unions is what helped destroy our black communities after Reconstruction, after the Civil War, the labor unions, because they wanted to relegate the type of work that we did so they can enact black codes to put us into a false sense of employment. And they're really enslaving us and using this system to bring us back onto the slave master, because the slave master saw that now I have no skills, I can't run nothing. We have the freed blacks that's doing everything, have their own communities, being self-sufficient, has all the skills. We have to find a way to bring them back into economic enslavement. That's what slavery is about, economics. And now, because they cannot do it openly no more, where we're involuntary slaves, now they're using us for media and using our body as a transmitting utility to make a profit. This is what they're doing. So when we get these veterans involved, or brothers and sisters who go into the military and taking all of their skills and bringing it back to the conscious community and incorporate into a system that we can employ scientifically and equip each individual on how to thrive and survive sans white supremacy, that is the best chance that we have. And I would say in correlation with all the other things that we're trying to do so that we can mobilize against this beast, because we need all the assets that we can. So I just wanted to get that off my chest, if y'all don't mind, but I hand y'all back the floor.
Oh, no doubt. No, this is just, the platform. The platform is for you, brother. We want to know what's going on in the mind of Ryan Divine Prospect. So, definitely, partake that information. And I'm definitely in agreement. The veterans, you have, for example, Geronimo Pratt. He was, he fought in the Vietnam War and used that skill to help the Black Panthers, fight off the police.
Yes, sir.
Got them in, strategic militarily. So it's incumbent, especially at this day and time, that, certain skills, that we learn by, fighting with this, for this beast. You know what I mean? Because I personally, I went and joined the Air Force, and I was going into the Air Force for, military police. That's before I was kicked out, but, that's a whole other story. But, so what I do know, after I completed basic training, that they train you, of how to, clean weapons, how to use weapons, how to shoot weapons. So all those things, you can bring back to the community, because we don't really, that's the thing that we don't understand. We don't understand that most, of the enemies, most of our enemies teach their children how to shoot weapons since from the time that they are little kids. They are shooting guns. They are shooting guns. They go into rifle ranges and they're shooting. See, all the things that we talk about of how gangster we is and all this and that, we don't be doing that type of stuff. We really just be talking. Black people we good talkers, man. We don't really be doing, and then when we do stuff, it's to each other. So really, we just be really talking, you know what I'm saying? We really not a violent people. I think, the media has, overemphasized some things that goes on within our community. And there's a lot of things that do go on in our community. But, with that being said, we're not really a violent people by nature. You know what I'm saying? It's not a, I think living in a post-integrationalist society, there's a lot of pressure on African Americans. You know what I'm saying? Because we know for a fact that during the time of segregation, it was a certain value system that was established within the community, where those certain shit we just ain't do. Certain shit that was, we didn't even delve into certain shit. It's based off the culture. And this is not really talking about like us going back to our African culture. I'm talking about after post-slavery, during that antebellum period, during that time of Jim Crow era, into the civil rights era, going into the 70s, that time period, you had a culture whereas though we lived amongst each other and certain things that we didn't do. Like, my sister tell you, she's about 43 years old. that when they used to get in trouble, the lady down the street was allowed to beat them. The lady down the street was allowed to discipline them. Like that, you don't see that no more because we don't really live amongst each other. The reason why that was so is because the lady down the street, mother lived in that house, and her mother lived in that house. So it's like generations of them living together, so they know each other. Based off of desegregation, it's like when people get money, they move out the community, and we constantly moving. So we don't really we live in a community together, but it's not as tightly knit because we haven't lived amongst each other that long. You know what I'm saying? Where we see generations of families and intermarried and all these type of things. So now it's like, I don't want nobody, like the lady down the street can't hit my kid now because it's like, yo, I don't really know you like that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's like,
yep.
You know, the fabric has changed. Now it's like all these things, the value system has broken down. So now it went from respecting the elders to now disrespecting the elders. You see it every day. You know, when you're riding on the bus, the kids going wild, cursing at each other. The elders are sitting right there. You're sitting right there. Sometimes, you know, you got a bold elder that say, well, you know, it's like, be quiet. Then they curse him out. You know what I'm saying? They curse him out. Like, so it's like, it's a state of chaos in the community. And, you know, all that is a byproduct, you know, of us, you know, deciding to integrate into this mainstream society. And when we did that, the whole culture got uprooted. You know what I'm saying? The culture got uprooted. And it's like, now it's like mass confusion. And white supremacy thrives off of confusion. That's how white supremacy works. You got to have you in a state of confusion. Because when you're in a state of confusion, you're vulnerable. So now he can come in and say, well, you know, I'm going to be the authoritarian in this situation, in this state of mass confusion. I'm going to be this authoritarian on your children. Well, you know, I think he needs Ritalin. I think he needs Fractal. He's too aggressive. You know, now he can come in and do that. You know what I'm saying? Because we are in a state of confusion. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, it's very crucial that we once again, you know, establish a firm foundation. You know what I mean? And you notice it's not really about a particular belief system. You know what I mean? What I'm promoting. It's not about you got to follow this. You know, because in all actuality, it's some core values that are universal principles that can be taught to us as children. Taught to our children, and that when they become older, you know, it will form a firm foundation. You know what I'm saying? In fighting the system of white supremacy, which is ultimately the problem not only in America but in the entire world.
So, Brother Devon, I want to ask you real quick to kind of lead in. How do you feel about, I never asked you this, I never heard you touch on it. How do you feel about revolution and what steps do we need to take? Because we look at Tulsa, we look at Durham, North Carolina. We see a point in time where black people was, you know, we had a lot of information, we had a lot of education, we had a lot of economic. We was pushing out millionaires, almost billionaires in some cases. So how do you feel about a military apparatus being in place when you're talking about building with black people? Like, for example, let's just say if you had a school, like Brother Solomon alluded to, you look at the Jews, they go to the gun range, they're learning survival tactics. Do you think that that's a necessary option that we need to put in our curriculum going forward? Or should we just focus on economics and education? What's your view on that, Brother Devon?
I think that's a great question. And I think the problem is that the people who don't want to implement a military apparatus are going to be the ones that are going to be opposed to it. only because it may threaten the framework of whatever system that they have established. And in order for us to get back to that, again, a lot of things that I mentioned earlier, we need to employ. We need to first start raising our children off the grid. Because if we're not raising our children off the grid, they're going to be growing up to be dependent upon this system. So the first thing is that one thing that we've learned when we were segregated, right, before integration, we were in our own pockets because the damage was done when the media got into the homes and the black homes, the media, TV, radio. When the media got into our homes, that was the thing that was causing us to integrate and be less active. But when we didn't have that stuff, there were more values in the home, right? There was more of a spiritual consciousness, no matter what subscription you had. You know what I'm saying? There was a respect system. There was an honor system. There were stories that my mother would tell me, back in the 60s where, 60s, 50s, 60s, and I had my grandmother and other family members that would tell me that they would leave their doors unlocked. They would leave their cars unlocked. Nobody would touch it. Nobody would bother it. I mean, we don't have that no more. We don't have that. I mean, we can't leave our cars unlocked and our doors unlocked, or like Solomon said, trust another adult to watch after our child. Now what they do is they incite us to fight so they can record it and put it on WorldStar. You understand what I'm saying? So when we expose our youth to too much of Big Brother and the conveniences and benefits of Big Brother, then they will be wholly dependent on the system. And then when you ask them to compromise, they will be stuck like a rock in a hard place. So what we have to do is that when the children are young, we have to teach them at a young age all the skill sets that we are aggregating so they can survive off the grid. Now, that is economically, how to create a barter system with currency, because we can implement that. Politically, how to create a body politic, so that way we have a council, and the council are the ones that we trust to make the laws indigenously for us as a people. How do we defend ourselves militarily? See, my divine prospect action is this. I'm not telling any of us to go out there with arms blazing and shoot and kill this beast, because nobody in Black nationalist movement, that was ever their objective. What they did was protect their assets, and their greatest resource was the youth. So it wasn't out there getting weapons and tanks and go shooting on this beast. It don't work that way. We were protecting all the resources and assets that we have acclimated and that we wanted to pass on in a legacy format to the next generation. We were dying for that. We were being protected for that. See, it's very interesting when people say that we should not have some kind of military apparatus to defend ourselves as the people, but yet I guarantee if they in the hood, they got a gun in the house. See, I guarantee you got a
Real talk, brother. Go ahead, brother.
No, I was going to say, I guarantee they got a nice house in the suburbs, and you a rapper, I guarantee you got an alarm system, right? I guarantee that when you go down shit, you got bodyguards that are equipped and that have weapons, but yet, when you want to do so in a community, it's a sin. It's a crime. Oh, my God, what are you doing? This makes absolutely no sense. I think every child should learn how to learn carpentry to know how to build a house. I think every child, a basic house, should learn agriculture, what foods to eat in the wild, what foods not to eat, what plants is good, what fruits is good. I think every child should also learn how to communicate without media. I'm talking about without social media, getting back to shortwave radios, getting back into a metric system where you can pass notes to different communities. I think the youth need to be trained with all of these assets at a young age, because once they learn how to be self-sufficient, independent of this system, they can sever this umbilical cord that they have to Big Brother and now Big Mother, because the state is feeding us everything. You know what I'm saying? Once we learn how to sever that cord and be self-sufficient in every aspect, military is only designed to protect, not to advocate violence, but protect the assets. If I work hard and I build a house, trust and believe I'm going to protect that house. If my family is in a house, best believe, how come my family cannot be the entire community? Why does it just have to be in my home? See, when we were segregationists, this is how we thought. Not just about my family, but the family next to us. And there's an old saying that goes, when I looked out in the street and I seen the police beating up on my neighbor down the street, I was quiet. When I see the police beat up my neighbor that was 2 doors from me, I was quiet. When I see the neighbor beat up the neighbor right next to me, I was quiet. But then the moment they started beating up for me, I started to cry out for help. How can you expect to get assistance for your own home if you're not willing to die and protect somebody else's home? So we need to get back to... Go ahead, King.
Now, go ahead, brother. Go ahead. I apologize.
No, I was going to just finish up. So we need to get back to the basics of employing all of these skills. This is why I was talking about the veterans program to get that skill set. I'm talking about politics. I'm talking about economics. I'm talking about social reform. All of these skill sets, we need to employ it to the youth so that way they can be self-sufficient in our absence and not be dependent on Big Brother, because the way the system is designed is to perpetually keep your children dependent upon white supremacy for their existence. And we have to sever that umbilical cord. And what I've learned from my spiritual walk, it has shown me that anytime there's injustice, you speak out about it. Anytime a brother's in distress, you put your life on the line. The text tells you to put my life on the line for a brother who's in harm's way, to go and protect that brother by any means necessary. So it has given me I have a spiritual apparatus that is employing in my mind different defenses to protect the assets that I work hard for, because this is the legacy that, or the inheritance that I need to pass on, not to my children, but to my grandchildren.
Right. This is why I say, you got a lot of so-called elders running around the community thinking that if we just get 3 or 4 degrees, if we build a strong economic foundation, that at some point in time we're not going to have to deal with this white man again. I don't know. I mean, all the Egyptian studies and the evolution studies, they just can't seem to see that part, man. I mean, like, we already see it, man. What the fuck is wrong with people? So all I'm saying is, okay, like Brother Devon was saying, just be in position to protect it. Don't run around talking about you got a gun, what you did, to black people, but when it comes time to serve justice on white people, now you turn into a bitch-made nigga. Now, I mean, we reject people like that. You know what I'm saying? So all I'm saying is that let's be in a position to protect what we build going forward. That was the problem before. We weren't in position to protect what we had. Why the hell we want to build billion-dollar industries and, get science labs and all this shit if the white man going to come destroy it? Now, everybody's saying, oh, the white man ain't going to come destroy it. Y'all delusional. Motherfucker, look at Tulsa. You don't understand power, whoever's saying that. You don't understand power because the white man's not going to let you get no power without an armed struggle in this country. Period, man. Read your books a little deeper. Study a little harder. Because you understand that the biggest threat to global white supremacy is black people unified. Period. Fucking period. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. And we ain't come from a goddamn monkey, I see you on the line. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, Devon, I'm going to bring in Brother Malik. Got a question for you. Is that okay, Brother Devon? Brother Malik?
That's fine, King. That's fine.
All right. Peace, Brother Malik.
Peace. How y'all doing?
Peace, King.
Peace, King. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
Yeah, I'm proud of you, man. It's not a question, just a comment, really. One, very proud of what you did. Anybody who opposes what you did, actions speak louder than words, man. And one of my goals is really to move out the country. And I think that there's several different paths to go about as far as in essence, we want out of white supremacy, and I think sometimes things you said, I really didn't know you even saw on that level, brother, to be honest with you. And I'm very impressed. And
I appreciate that, King.
I think it's a thing that sometimes there's going to be people you got cut off, and we got to work with the like-minded people that have the same goal in mind. And not everybody's going to think like this. Because the thing I do respect is, even though I may not agree with, Israelite doctrine per se, but what I respect is the fact that you're not waiting on anything. And a lot of people who come from that perspective, as well as an Islamic perspective or whatever, they just fall back, and their whole thing is, oh, it's meant to be. You know, this was the plan of the Creator. You know, we just fall back and we be good. You know, we just do. You know, we pray and we're gonna get to heaven. But in the meantime, while you're here, there's work that has to be done. Because mere belief means nothing unless carried into action. You know, and that's all I really want to say, man. I'm really impressed and listening to what you're saying, and I would love to build with you. You know, about
anytime, King. You know, me and you talk, man, and I haven't been able to get back to you as of late because of a lot of products that I have. But anytime, man, you know, I just try to be honest, because even if you look at it from a biblical perspective, and I'm gonna throw this out there, right? Because it's something that I wanted to wait for my lecture, but even if you look at a biblical perspective, a lot of Hebrew Israelites, and those are my brothers, they say, oh, we in captivity, so we just need to allow whatever to happen. And that's interesting that they say that, because when you actually study the Second Temple period, when you had Nehemiah go back, Ezra go back, and Zerubbabel go back to rebuild their city that was destroyed, when they were rebuilding the city, those brothers wasn't there docile. Their brothers had weaponry to defend and protect what it was that they were building while they were in captivity. They did not sit back and just wait for some miraculous acts to occur. They asked the Most High to empower them to go back and fix the city. They saw the damage that was done. Prophecy was saying time is clicking down. Something needs to be done. They said, yo, our city has been destroyed. We need to go back and build it and also defend it. That's right in the text. Just read the book of Nehemiah. It's right there. The blueprint is right there. So when I look at things like that, that is what mobilizes me to say we need to take action, because it's even justified in the text. And I just use the text as one basic framework on how to build this system. You have to pull from other sources as well. This just happens to be my core in regard to spirituality, but dealing with other systems as well, I employ these tactics because we understand that when we come under one banner, we have to unify under our common denominator, not the numerators that divide us, but the common denominator. And that should be the central focus.
Well, definitely appreciate that, Brother Malik. I'll leave, just mute yourself out, and I'll leave your microphone open. I'm going to touch on this whole, real quick, before I bring the next caller in. I'm going to touch on, and I do advocate going to college. I think it could be a good thing as long as you pick the right degree, and you're going to be able to get a good job coming out. But if you look at a recent study, you see that black college grads have doubled the unemployment rate. I mean, I could see my mother has a master's degree, unemployed. You know, one time I had a detail shop. I had a white guy working for me. He was a chemical engineer, unemployed. So what I'm saying is that I think that in this day and time, it would be more beneficial, in particular black people, black men, to maybe get a trade under their belt. And I'm not, you know, like I said, I'm not knocking college. I'm not knocking that. But to get some type of a trade, mechanic, carpenter, you know, electrician, HVAC, something. But if you look at, you know, your first 4 years of college, you know how many people got debt, $50, $100,000 worth of debt after 4 years of college and can't find a job, as opposed to the person who has a trade. He can come out and make $50,000 to $100,000 a year right out of high school and make way more over his lifetime than a college grad. So I just want to put that out there. No way am I knocking people with degrees. I respect them, doctors, PhDs. I respect them. But this day and age, you got to give people the right information. Get a goddamn trade, man. If you can get a degree, that's fine. But I'll recommend getting a trade, brother. So most definitely. Let me I'm gonna bring another caller in if that's okay with you, brother. I'm
fine, King. I'm fine.
All right. Let me bring in the 609, then I'll be right on you next, brother. 609-310. 609-310.
Yeah, what's good, yo?
But you in Jersey, man? What's up,
Peace,
man?
King.
Yeah, that's my Jersey number. But what's going on, Divine? This is Yahweh.
Oh, peace, King. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Hey, I appreciate your words about what you were saying about not standing idly by and not being docile. Because, again, we also see this in James, where he's talking about faith. Faith is just not a thing that anything that we do in the Bible, and I just have to say this, is not something that we just sit back and just wait on. It's actually an action. So when he says, show me your faith, by my works, and it's by our works that we show everything that we do. So showing that we have faith in God, I think that is by working, building ourselves up internally, building ourselves up educational-wise, economically, and actually acting on it if we actually believe it.
Well said, brother. And to add to that, even in the same book of James, it's talking about how can you be so spiritual but deny your brother their carnal needs. So if we see our community has foreclosures, if we see our community is lacking food, clothing, and shelter, we see our community don't have the proper charter schools because they're closing out all these black charter schools and forcing us into public schools, how are we calling ourselves spiritual and yet all the carnal needs are still lacking in our community? What good is your spirituality if you cannot transmute it into a system to build up your community? Because the text tells us to look first for your brother. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. If your neighbor does not have, you make sure he has. If your neighbor is in attacked by the police, you make sure you're there to assist. If your neighbor has situations, you make sure that you are your brother's keeper. So it helps to be that glue to have us to understand that we have an obligation to the soldier that is standing next to us. So at least from my perspective, it ensures that I'm more adept at being trustworthy because I know that I have an obligation not just to self, but an accountability to a higher power. Some call him by a particular name, some say it's the ancestors. Either way, once you deny your accountability to that which is greater than you, then everything becomes relative and you can decide to do whatever the hell you want to do with no accountability.
Go ahead, brother. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, because I was just sitting back just listening and, being respectful and just listening to everything. And, you know what I'm saying? I just want to say two things. So first thing I want to say is that it's interesting because when you actually look at the history of ancient Kemet or even Nubia, they was fighting the oppressors who were the Greeks and the Persians and all these invaders. They was banging out on them. They didn't sit there and just say, oh, okay, we're going to let them come in and take over. I mean, we're just going to be nice. Nah, if you study the Meroic kings and even the Kandakais or the Candaces, whenever the Greeks try to come in and set up shop, they banged on them. When the Romans try to come in, they banged on them. So they fought to the last breath to try and maintain their sovereignty. You feel what I'm saying? And when they lost it, our objective is to see how they failed and how we can prevent it from happening to our community today. So it's nice to share information. It sounds good, but how are we employing what they did, the tactics that they employed strategically to get us up out of our condition? Because I say all the time, information is great, but if it cannot get you up out of your condition and get you from up under your oppressor, then it is no good. It's no good. So if we're going to study ancient Kemet, okay, that's great. All of that's fine and dandy, but let's talk about the warriors, okay, who did not allow their oppressors to come in and set up shop. How did they strategically keep them out? What was the strategy that they employed? You understand what I'm saying? How did they sustain their economy in the midst of being in war? Why are we not studying these elements so we can practically employ them today and find a way so that we can come from up under our oppressor? So this is why when I take my position and I teach what I teach it practically so people can get the skills necessary and the tools to get the job done self-sufficiently. That's the ultimate thing. And the second thing I want to say is that, I'm rolling out as many tools as I can to get things done. I have an app that I'm trying to release by the end of this year. I have a couple of people that's working with me on this project. And what the app does is that whenever a police terroristic act is taking place, we're not going to call it brutality no more because it's terrorism. Whenever police terrorism is taking place, when you take out your phone, you press a button, and when you press a button, it'll activate the app. Once the app is activated, it will capture audio and video. It will stream it live to the cloud so it's not locally on your phone. And then what it will do is activate your GPS and alert everybody in your community of the act that's taking place so everybody can cohesively and collectively respond to the act. You see? Now, when I put initiatives like that out there, I don't get no support. What this app is going to do is get us to respond, to increase our response time to these situations, because once they see they're dealing with a collective whole, they will fall back. And what we need to do is create deterrence to allow us to build up our resources so that we can fight our oppressor, whether it's spiritually, whether it's economically, whether it's militarily. We have to create deterrents or garrisons by creating and using the technology and the influences that we have in the media, etc., so that way we can create a distance between us and them so we can build ourselves up independent of this beast system. See, this is what we need to do, but we need to do so tactfully. So when I'm telling people in the community that I have an app, why don't you support it, it's like they don't want to get behind it. And this app is only going to assist us in being more cohesive when we respond. So why would you be opposed to a brother who's trying to bring initiatives out to clean up the community so that way you have more black men to come to your lectures? You have more black men to come to your conferences, because if we don't fix the problem of us getting killed in the street by each other and also by white supremacy, then you ain't gonna have nobody left to come to your lectures. You ain't gonna have nobody left to come to your events or your conferences. You understand what I'm saying? What good is it going to do? Because once we leave the lecture, I have to go back and fear getting pulled over by the cops. I have to go back and fear the next one is going to pull the trigger on me. I have to fear these things once I leave out of the lecture. What safeguards are you providing to keep me from having this fear? What are you equipping me so that way when I interface with the brothers on the corner, I can give them an economic plan to give them a counterculture instead of taking the rug from under their feet and saying, now you got to survive because everything you're doing is evil, and find a counterculture to give to them, say, hey, you know what? I see you have an entrepreneurial spirit, my brother. You out here on a grind 24/7. You know what I'm saying? You on post. Even though you may not have to go to school, you're good with numbers. Let me show you how you can flip this and buy this community back for yourself and set up shop. So that way you don't have to sell these drugs. So that way you ain't have to do this. You don't have to do that. How are we in real time employing these tactics that we speak about when we go into the streets? And this is what we do. We go into the streets, we talk to these brothers and tell them the enemy is not the next man. Because if the white man wanted to come in and buy up your property, you ain't going to have a corner to sell on. What are you doing to securitize this fortress, man? If you're working hard and grinding to do it, what are you doing to securitizing that? See, when you give them a bigger economic plan and they think outside of their small world, they start to change on how they deal with each other because now they see the real enemy. Because their brother who's in the opposite gang, he ain't making no guns. How the guns coming in the community? He ain't making no drugs. How's it coming in the community? So once we alert them of these things, we raise their conscience, but we do it incrementally because we want to show them that you guys have everything necessary to fight the system. Because when we say fight the system, we're not telling our brothers to go out there and shoot the cop. I think that's what people think that we're telling them when we tell them to be equipped. Why do we have so many people in the conscious community learning martial arts if we don't have to fight no battles? Why are there some initiatives in the conscious community that I even attended where they're telling you how to learn how to hunt, you know what I'm saying, how to shoot a rifle, how to go to the gun range? If all of this stuff that they're teaching us, that we are not saying that it's going to become a time when we're going to have to employ it, then what good is them teaching us this? You have to tell people, listen, do your best to refrain from it, but if you have to use it, do what you got to do to securitize the assets that you work hard for. Because the moment that, let's say, there's a gentrification program in any neighborhood that any leader is living on and they want to kick him out, what's he going to do? He going to move. He going to give him all his land and he's going to move. He ain't fighting for it because he don't want to lose his life. You understand what I'm saying? But if I know that I'm living off of the system and I work to create my own currency, because you don't have to use this currency in order to survive. If you create an economic system within your community, what they think is that once you unplug from the currency here, oh my God, you can't survive. Well, why not? How do you think we were building cities and everything independently? A lot of us had a barter system where we had to create our own notes so that way we can fund programs to build houses and create institutions. We can create a system sans this government, man. See, when you equip a child to let them know that, just don't tell them, oh, you're God, but if I'm God, but yet I can employ the power of God. See, a God will equip his people to fight to protect their land. Now, how many of my people am I empowering to protect the land that their ancestors died on? See, I'm not against nobody that wants to go to Africa. That's fine. My organization is even planning to have communities in Africa as a contingency plan. But at the same time, what are we doing here? Because if I'm going to run from the enemy here, no matter where I go, if he comes, I'm going to run too. So I have to find a prototype or a way to deal with him where I'm at first. And once I find a system that is sound, that works efficiently, now I can employ it everywhere else. Because if I run away from him and I get chased down somewhere else, I'm not going to be any equally as efficient because all I'm going to keep doing is running, keep running.
Right.
You got to stop running sometimes, man, and you have to learn how to defend it here because America is a testing ground. Once you test the system out here and it works, now you can employ it overseas. But ultimately, at the end of the day, and again, people know Divine, I teach, I instruct people, I counsel, but at the end of the day, I'm all about the upliftment and the protection and sustainability and preservation of my people. And this is what the RBG element has taught Divine, that I need to teach my people all the necessary skills and tools that they need and how to aggregate it so that way we can protect the next generation coming up. And all we're doing is pleading for the elders. Just give us your skills. If you can't use it, give it to us and let us do what we got to do. If you don't agree of how we're doing it, teach us the way to get it done. Because we're not telling you have to be on the front lines. We would be more than happy to do it, but we need your support. We need your guidance. We need your blessings. Don't be afraid to pass the torch because things are much different in our environment today than it was in your environment. So the same things may not necessarily work all the time, but give us the instructions that we need to get the job done. Because if you're not going to use the tools, let us build. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Because as our objective as a youth to take care of our elders. But if you are not equipping us to take care of you, okay, because we don't know how to fight or how to organize, then how do you expect us to respect you? And that's what we're trying to do. We want to close the gap because our elders have so much wisdom. And again, this is why I don't knock anybody for going to school because in a society, everybody's not going to have the same role. But what we're saying is that those who want to be warriors, teach them how to do it the right way. Those who want to get education, teach them how to bring it back to their community. Instruct us on how to do this thing, and you will get more respect from us. And then when everything goes down, we will be thinking about protecting you first because in any society, they look after the women, the children, and the elderly. But first, you have to train us up so we can do that. And that's all the youth is asking and we're crying out with. And with that, I'll just bow out, brothers, man, and give you back to Mike.
Yeah, we appreciate you, brother. I mean, that was real talk, Brother Divine. We definitely appreciate your vigor, your fire. And just keep doing what you're doing, brother, and we got your back, man. You know what I mean? Definitely.
I appreciate that, King.